Welcome to the Eldorado Gaming Deck Series. Eldorado Gaming is your site for premier accessories like metal dice and playmats. Eldorado Gaming sponsors the My Mythical Meta podcast, and the Deck Series features Magic the Gathering decks played by the My Mythical Meta crew. Subscribe to the channel and comment with your own suggestions or questions for the players.
Welcome back to the My Mythical Meta EDG Deck Series. I am your host, Benjamin, and I'm joined by my good friend, Randy. Say hello, Randy.
Hey, yo.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good. I'm glad that we're here. I'm really excited to talk about the deck that we're going to talk about today. It was the first time that I was really impressed with your deck building. Certainly not the last, but the first.
I'll take that call.
And it's a deck that really showed me what's possible in Commander in a way that I hadn't really approached before, and it really added a lot to our meta. So today we're here to talk about Darien, King of Kjeldor.
Come on, stop trying to hit me and hit me.
What do you call this deck?
So I call it White Wiener.
Okay.
And it's the theme is something in Magic called a White Weenie, which is just white 1/1 creatures. They're not very strong, but you just get a lot of them out on the board. So I took the White Weenie and then just added Winner.
Gotcha.
So you get a White Wiener.
Okay. Something I've really appreciated about this deck when you played it is the sense of inevitability. The feeling I get when I'm playing a deck that may be stronger or may be faster or whatever, but I feel the hope slowly draining out of me as I see that every single time you play a card, it just makes it where, oh, I can't beat that one either. And it'd be something simple. It could be a 1-mana card. We'll get into some of those later, but it would just be something where I'd say, it has that feeling of a prison or a lockdown deck, but you don't stop anyone from playing. You just...
Yeah, not normally, no. I think it's funny because, white is usually like, in Magic, it's angelic and it's hope and it's, the human spirit. And it's like, I think what this deck does is I get it by sapping it from y'all.
Yes. And not in the traditional, like, white-black drain type where you're actually sapping it from us. It's just you gaining life just slowly drains any hope we have of winning, and it's awesome. So I think at its core, obviously, we'll describe Darien in a second, but at this deck's core is you gain life for doing literally everything. You amass a giant army, and then you kill us when you're out of reach.
Yeah, if there is a game action possible in Magic, there's a card in white that says, "Hey, I deserve to gain life for that." I drew a card, I want a life. You drew a card, I want a life. You played a creature? I think I need a life. And I think you need to lose a life for that, actually, too.
Right.
So, it's I think there's life gain or token generation for every aspect, almost.
Yeah, and you combined a bunch of them to make a really tight package. So we're going to get into that. Now, if you're new to the Eldorado Gaming Deck Series, then just kind of, I'll explain that we're not going to mention every single card in this deck. If you're interested in seeing the deck list, it will be in the show notes down below, and also we'll include a link to the My Mythical Meta Architect page, which will include the full deck. But what we're going to do is we're going to discuss the various categories that are in this deck, and we're going to, as we do that, highlight a few cards that really showcase this deck's themes and how they play into the overall game plan. And a few times we'll mention some expensive cards where there might be budget alternatives, or we'll talk about how it is, whether or not it is or isn't needed for the overall plan, and then we'll summarize at the end, and you'll see how this goes. So, all right, let's talk about the commander itself. Tell us about Darien, King of Kjeldor.
Darien is a 6-cost, 2 white, 4 generic human soldier. Whenever you are dealt damage, you may create that many 1/1 white soldier creature tokens. So he wants to get hit. He wants you to punch him in the face as hard as possible, and that just makes him stronger. He's almost like a Hulk.
Yeah, he rallies the troops. If I get in with a 3/3, you get 3 1/1s.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, hey, you hit my king. That's not nice. And I get the soldiers together, and we form a little militia.
Yep. Okay, well...
And then...
Go ahead.
Oh, I was saying, and then we get the power of God on our side, and
now,
take those anthems to him.
Now, he is only a 3/3. How often do you win with commander damage in this deck?
Oh, I don't think I've ever...
Okay.
I don't think he's ever gotten more than, like, maybe 9.
Okay. Yeah, you get in a couple times.
Yeah.
All right, so he does cost 6. So I want to start with talking about your ramp package. You do have a few more. Normally, we would play around 10, depending. You have 13, and I want to highlight some of the bigger ones here. If anyone who's watching this, probably the biggest one that you're gonna see in the show notes is Mana Crypt. So Mana Crypt is obviously a $200 plus card. How did you get your Mana Crypt?
In a pack. The old-fashioned way. Yeah, boy.
All right.
Yeah, I cracked it, and I was ecstatic. I don't remember what I cracked it in. I think it was one of the
Double Masters.
Yes, that's what it was.
Yeah,
I was trying to read what that symbol was. Yeah, Double Masters.
Yeah,
I got really lucky, pulled it from that, but I would never pay that much for a card.
I don't blame you, but it does synergize so well with this deck.
Yeah.
Like obviously any deck's gonna be better with a Mana Crypt, right? But this deck in particular, Mana Crypt is a 0 mana artifact that you can tap to add 2 mana to your mana pool. So it's like a better Soul Ring, but it has a drawback. And that drawback is at the beginning of your upkeep, flip a coin. If you lose the flip, Mana Crypt deals 3 damage to you. In most decks, that is a drawback. I've watched people play where Mana Crypt has killed them. But what does Mana Crypt do for you?
Well, if everything is online, Darien is out, I got some other cards out there, it's going to deal 3 damage, I'll make 3 creatures, and I'll gain a ton of life, hopefully. That's the game plan. So I want to take damage, because I pretty much will almost instantly heal it and gain more, typically.
Yeah, so Mana Crypt in this deck, once you have Darien out, the drawback is a positive. So...
yeah. It becomes paying 3 life to get 3 creatures on board.
Yep.
At its worst, if only I have Darien, I don't have any Lifegain on board yet.
Yeah.
It's still not that bad.
No, it's I mean, basically with a Mana Crypt, you're going to get Darien out a couple turns early anyway, so it helps you get to the way to eliminate the drawback. So,
yeah.
Obviously, Mana Crypt is one of those cards where I think that the audience could replace it with a basic Plains, or there's some other stuff we'll talk about later that we might consider adding to this deck. But if at all you can find this card, it's worth adding, right? It's one of those that'll just that'll
if you have one, just throw it on in there.
That's right.
If you don't, it's not gonna break the deck if you don't have one, because but it has backfired on me before. I've had bad games where it's just killing me
because you didn't get that last Plains to play Darien.
Yeah, but I'm trying to, I'm still having to use it because I'm short on mana, so I'm having to use it to try to, make something happen for me. And it's just every turn it's killing me, and I'm like, oh god.
Yeah.
So it can backfire.
Yeah, and this deck is, it does have an expensive commander, and it does have a few very high mana value cards that we'll get to later. But most of the cards are in your 3 to 4 mana range, which means that without Mana Crypt, you're still playing your game plan.
Yeah. I was going to say, Darien's not expensive. Or did you mean, like, the theme can be expensive?
Darien is 6 mana. That's expensive.
Oh, I think meant money.
Oh, no.
I'm like, he's $1.50.
Yeah, no, I'm...
Okay. I see. Yes, he is mana cost expensive to get
right.
out. And in white, which is not the greatest at ramping, it can take a while sometimes.
Yeah, but obviously, so we're mentioning Mana Crypt here, not necessarily because you need to go get one, but if you happen to have one in another deck, it has extra synergy if you're trying to build Darien, because if you lose the flip, you get creatures in addition to whatever else you're doing, and so it's a nice way to kind of mitigate what Mana Crypt does. So if you have one that's floating around in say another deck or something, consider sticking it in a Darien deck instead, and you'll reap the benefits there. Another one I wanted to talk about, the other two we have on our list, right? You have all the typical one, Soul Ring, Mind Stone, but I want to talk about the two that reduce the cost of white spells, because this deck is basically all white. You have a few artifacts, but Pearl Medallion. Pearl Medallion is a 2-mana artifact that says white spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. And one of the cool things about this is it can let you play multiple spells in a turn. It can provide more than just 1 mana. Have you?
Yeah.
So talk about that a little bit. How do you?
I mean, like most of the things in here are white. Like, so there are a few artifacts, but just being able to reduce the cost across the board, early on, maybe not as good, but whenever you start getting into some of your bigger spells, like, okay, I can play three drops and then save 1 from each of them, and now I can do another 3-drop card. So that's an extra card per turn maybe you're getting to play. And that the value is just, it's there's a word for it, but you're getting more for your value than just like a standard like Soul Ring. Soul Ring is a flat tap for 2. It's never going to give you more than 2. And the same thing for most other mana rocks, in the deck is, they're going to be a flat mana, and this is on a curve, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it would be uncommon to have your Pearl Medallion out on turn 2, and then on turn 3 be able to play, an Oblivion Ring and a Darksteel Mutation, and you save 2 mana instead of just the 1.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think Pearl Medallion's an excellent include in this deck. Obviously, if you can't afford a Pearl Medallion, there are lots of 2-mana mana rocks that aren't in this deck list that I think you could include. You could always stick an Arcane Signet in here. You do have Mind Stone. So there's plenty of things to replace if you can't afford a Pearl Medallion. But it's actually it's surprisingly cheap right now. I remember when the medallions were $20 or $30, and
oh really?
Yeah, and they've been reprinted enough now. They're down to about $5. So it's a good time to go out and get one like this.
Yeah, I think $5 to like $8 was the most I remember them being. So thankfully, I missed that cursed time.
Right. The other mana rock I saw in here that I was really interested in talking about is the Oketra's Monument. Tell us about what Oketra's Monument does.
This one's a little bit more restrictive, because it's only white creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Mm-hmm. So it's, a little bit more restrictive, but it's still a good one since you're doing a lot of creatures in this deck. Whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 1/1 white warrior creature token with vigilance. So cast a creature, you get another creature. Hopefully that's giving you 2 into the battlefield. Lifegain triggers. It's just another one of those nice little values. It helps where white is weakest, which is mana ramp.
Yeah.
And then also just, it fits the synergy of making tokens. So, we want to go as wide as possible, so anything that's going to make a creature come in is good. And it's nice and cheap.
Right. A lot of creatures, especially a lot of life gain creatures, are often not really great value, but when they come in with an additional body, they suddenly become a lot better. So, yeah. Okay. Cool. You mentioned areas where white is weak. We had talked about ramp a little bit. Let's talk about card draw. This deck doesn't have a whole lot of card draw in it. I count 5. And I think that's partially because you're going to get your card advantage in another way, and we'll get to that when we talk about tokens. But let's talk about some of the key card draw spells here. The biggest one, and the one I think is almost certainly belongs in a deck like this, is Skull Clamp. Right, Skull Clamp is a 1-mana equipment with equip 1, and it says equipped creature gets +1/-1, and whenever equipped creature dies, draw 2 cards. Do you have a lot of 1 toughness creatures in this deck?
Oh my goodness, you would not believe how many 1 toughness creatures in here. I think, let's see. Yep, most of the tokens are 1/1s. Yep. Soldiers, Pegasus, core soldiers, and warriors all come in as just little baby 1/1s.
Yep. And so what happens? So with Skull Clamp, you can pay 1 mana, stick it on one of your little tokens, and
you make him a little tough boy right before he dies.
Yeah.
Instantly. +1/-1.
So he dies, and you get 2 cards.
2 cards.
2 cards.
He gave his life for the greater good.
1 mana.
Sacrificed himself for the king.
Yeah. So that's what's amazing is with Darien out, every damage dealt to you, you can pay 1 mana to draw 2 cards. It's it's gross. With Skull Clamp out, it's just you can churn through your deck so fast and build up those defenses. Basically pretty much any white deck needs a Skull Clamp, and it's right at home in this deck. Another interesting one, because we just mentioned how many little creatures you have. Mentor of the Meek. It is a 3 mana. It costs 2 generic and a white for a 2/2 human soldier token. It says whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 1. If you do, draw a card. So, how many of your creatures have power 2 or less?
Man, I wish I had counted beforehand, but it's most of them. Yeah, most things are going to be 1/1s when they come in. I think I only have like a few angels and like a bird that come in a little bit stronger. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I would say 80% of the things that are going to enter the battlefield are going to be 2 or less.
There you go. And so here we have, if they hit you, you get to pay 1 for each damage they dealt to you to draw a card. It basically makes attacking you a very tough proposition, because between Skull Clamp and Mentor of the Meek, every time they hit you for damage, they're giving you cards. And so just 1 damage for a card is just not worth attacking you for.
Yeah, but I mean, the goal is, if you try to attack, most of the time it's going to be, you hit me, I get the creatures, I gain more life than I lost to begin with, then I can use my mana to sack my own creatures with Skull Clamp or Mentor of the Meek to pay for when they enter, and I can just boom, 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 just churn through the deck, hopefully.
Yeah.
And, keep a full grip that way.
Yeah, very cool. I do like, you had one, it's kind of ramp, it kind of card draw, that I really, it basically solves all of White's biggest problems, and that is the Immortal Sun. It is expensive, both money wise and mana wise. It's $15 and costs 6 mana, but once you can get it out, what does it do?
Players can activate Planeswalker's loyalty abilities, which in this deck I only have 1 Planeswalker. It rarely gets used, but it's just, because I had it. At the beginning of your draw step, draw an additional card, so always nice. And then again, spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. I really like the card advantage and the cheapen my spells, because that's what White really needs. Mm-hmm. And then the last one is just an anthem of creatures you control get +1/+1, which kind of goes against what skill you want for Skull Clamp, because it makes him harder to just instantly kill.
Yeah, but that's the only one. Everything else loves getting bigger.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it still works with Mentor of the Meat. It makes your 1/1s into 2/2s. Mentor still triggers, and of course, it makes your army into something that can kill people. So I like.
And it just means I'll just use whatever Skull Clamp is attached to. I'll just use it as a block.
Yeah,
and let it die that way.
There you go. Yeah, the Immortal Sun it kind of does all the things that White needs you to do, and then synergizes with the deck. So I like that in your card draw. If you get to 6 mana, you can, everything gets cheaper. You get extra cards. Your creatures get bigger. It works really well in a White weenie deck like this. So good inclusion here. And then I do want to mention, this one is technically card disadvantage. But I want to mention it here because it's really the only tutor you have. So for those listening, a tutor is a card that searches your library, and I think putting it here in card draw is kind of a reasonable place to look at it, and that is Enlightened Tutor. Another expensive card that found its way in here, but it's so good because so many of all the synergies you have are enchantment based. So Enlightened Tutor is an instant, costs 1 white mana. So and it says search your library for an artifact or enchantment card, reveal that card, shuffle your library, and put that card on top of it. So between artifacts and enchantments, basically you can get anything for any part of your game plan, right? So talk about some of the common things you might find with an Enlightened Tutor.
Pretty much, I think about half of my win cons can be tutored with it. And then, of course, it's just, what do you need in the moment? Am I struggling for mana? Let me grab Mana Crypt. Am I struggling? Do I need to get rid of someone's commander, or just like a problem child over there? Just grab an O-ring.
Yeah,
it's just a nice, if there's a need, I have it in enchant or artifact pretty much.
Yeah,
and I can solve it through one of those 2 card types. So It's just a nice kind of catch-all of like, answering my prayer of what I need.
Right.
Pulling that Yu-Gi-Oh top deck.
Yep. Yeah, if you need in the core of your deck, the token makers and the Lifegain, a lot of those are artifacts and enchantments too. So it's the heart of the cards. It every single category that we talk about: ramp, card draw, removal, protection, everything.
Tokens.
It'll come back and it'll get it for you. So I really like its inclusion in this deck. Okay, we mentioned your need for removal here. This deck has a pretty standard removal package. It's got your path, your swords, your Darksteel mutation. Let's talk about two ones that you don't necessarily see in every white deck. Martial Coup. It costs X white for a sorcery, and it says create X 1/1 white soldier creature tokens, and if X is 5 or more, destroy all other creatures. So I really like this card in this deck, because it is a 7 mana board wipe, but at the end, if you paid 7 or more mana into it, you're especially going to get a ton of triggers, right? Yeah. How often have you made big plays with Martial Coup?
I want to say at least 2 games I've used it to pretty much tee myself up for a win, because I usually have a couple things out that will double up the life I gain whenever something enters, or double up the tokens. I may have like Anointed Procession out, so I'll be doubling up on tokens whenever they come out. So I don't even have to do an insane amount of mana. I can dump maybe white and 7 into it, and I'll get 14 1/1 white soldiers. I destroy everything else on the board, and then I gain
28 life.
28 life, and just add to my 100 I already have. So now I'm at a point where it's you're gonna have to have infect or commander damage somehow sneak in to get me at that point. But thankfully I just wiped out everything else.
Yeah. How can any of us compete against that, where you have you now just have a massive board full of tokens and 100 or 200 life, and the rest of us have nothing.
Yeah, so it just does a lot of good things for the deck. It just synergizes really well. Yeah, it does exactly what I need it to. So I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah, that's good. All right, the other one I wanted to point out here was Fumigate. You don't see that in a whole lot of decks. It's a 5 mana board wipe. Fumigate is 3 white for a sorcery that says destroy all creatures, but you gain 1 life for each creature destroyed this way. So you don't get the tokens of Martial Coup, but you're guaranteed some life gain.
Yeah, I typically only do this one whenever I'm in a rough spot and I don't care about losing my 3 tokens I probably only have on the board anyway. It's like, you know what? I'm in a real bad pinch. Let's just clear the board. My 3 tokens will be regenerated real fast. Yeah. And again, there's no action in this game that I'm not going to gain a life from.
Stuff dying?
You got to pay the tax to the king.
There you go. Okay, your protection package. So the protection here, somebody else plays Fumigate, somebody else tries to remove Darien, somebody tries to, has some sort of combo in the command zone or something like that that's going to make your life miserable. You have a small set of things to protect yourself from that, and I think we might as well talk about all of them. So the first one is basically goes in any white deck, and that is Teferi's Protection.
Protection's in the name. It's the whole category. It's the king in white for this category. I feel like
absolutely.
A white and 2 of any color generic. It's an instant. Until your next turn, your life total can't change, and you gain protection from everything. All permanents you control phase out, and then while they're phased out, they're treated as if they don't exist, and then they phase in before you untap during your untap step, and then you exile Teferi's Protection. So it just says, I am out of this game for 1 round. Y'all do whatever you want. I am not here. You can't touch me.
Yeah. One of the best things I think about this card for this deck is normally you don't care about a board wipe. Normally you don't. I mean, I know it's a token deck, but it's one of those where you're going to get a lot of value and you can regenerate your tokens pretty easily. You don't necessarily care about a giant army attacking you because you have the life to absorb it and you're going to gain life off of it anyway. And if they connect and you're not dead, you're going to create a bunch of tokens off Darien. But what I think is cool about Teferi's protection is not only can it protect your army and protect all your key synergy pieces and all of that, but it can protect you when somebody pulls out a combat trick that would get around you. Somebody uses a tainted strike to give their creature infect and try to kill you with poison, or somebody swings at you with their commander and then buffs it up unexpectedly after you said no blocks because you thought you'd get tokens out of it. You can use Teferi's protection to cancel that so that you don't take that hit because you get protection from everything. And now they've blown it, and you're safe to come back and win later.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I do like that here. Another one that you can really use to mess with basically the whole board's game plan is Drannith Magistrate. It's another one that could basically go in any white deck. You do have to be careful not to get your commander stuck in the command zone with it. But Drannith Magistrate, 1 and a white for a 1/3 human wizard. Says your I guess it doesn't apply to you anyway. Your opponents can't cast.
Oh, that's right.
Can't cast spells from anywhere other than their hands. Nothing from it shuts down graveyards. It shuts down all those casts from exile. It shuts down commanders.
Yep. Womp womp womp.
So
sorry, you're stuck.
Yep. And I love it because it only costs 2. And so
yeah.
So what's the biggest, like, why is this one in here? This is not really a control deck. What does it do for you here?
I mean, it's not really a control deck, but it's just, I mean, I don't know how to describe it other than like very surface level of, it's like, I don't want you to do any shenanigans.
Yeah.
Alright, so Benjamin, I would say probably play a lot of like stuff from the graveyard. You do a lot of recursion in some of your decks, and so when I was building this deck, I was like, nah, we're shutting down graveyard stuff. It would stop those things from just like recurring that are just annoying. Again, just stopping all commanders in general.
Yeah.
And it doesn't hurt me. It doesn't stop me from playing my game. But it's like, hey, if you want to play your commander, you're going to have to blow this removal you have on this before you target anything else of mine that might be more key to my main strategy. So instead of killing Darien or my enchantment or whatever it is that's really a threat, it's like, well, you need to prioritize getting your stuff back out on board before you move on to anything else of mine. So it's a great way to just take up a removal spell.
Yep.
As well.
Yeah, that's true, because Darien, for costing 6, is a huge removal magnet, and so forcing them to use stuff on something else is great,
especially when it only costs 2.
Yeah.
So
and
he actually he kind of looks like Darien. He's like Darien's body double. Just get out, Mr. President.
Yeah.
Taking that bullet.
Yeah, and what I like is because a deck like this takes a while to set up. You play something on turn 3, something on turn 4, something on turn 5, and then Darien, and then you're set. I like that Drannith Magistrate slows down everybody else too, because they can't just pull out their commander and start going to town, because first they have to waste a turn on a removal spell. Yeah. Okay, and then you have 2 that don't always make it into decks, but I've seen you use these with incredible effectiveness, and they're often really frustrating, and that is Silence and Orum's Chant.
Yeah, I feel like both these cards I have used at key moments, and it's just like, like I'm so close to winning, but it's like, oh, if I just had one more turn.
Yeah.
Silence and Orum's Chant can get you that one more turn.
Yeah.
Sometimes. So, Silence is a 1 mana, a 1 white instant. Your opponents can't cast spells this turn.
Yeah.
It's just so nice. They go to their upkeep, and it's like, silence. Draw your card, pass a turn.
Yeah.
I mean, you can attack. But Orum's Chant says 1 white, a kicker for 1 white. Target player can't play spells this turn. If you pay the kicker cost, creatures can't attack this turn.
Oof.
Then it's literally just, hey, draw and pass. Let's end this bad boy. Come on. Let's just, let's get this over with.
Yeah. And I know that there have been lots of decks, because this deck, when you're playing against it, is like a puzzle. We're almost to the meat of the deck where the puzzle starts getting put together. But to play against it, you're always trying to figure out the way that you're going to get around everything gaining you life, right? How do I kill you? And it always seems like you play one of these cards right when I'm like, I figured it out. All right. Oh, silent. Okay.
It is fun. It is delightfully fun to just get that spell off at the right time.
Yeah, and I like that you can use them on your own turn so that you can set up your engine uninterrupted. No one's going to remove your stuff. No one's going to stop your attack or anything like that. You're not getting anything countered because you played a silence and you know everything else is going to go fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing when I'm playing, and I know if I'm close to victory, I just get very anxious of like, what am I overlooking? What am I missing? You know, like, how am I going to mess this up?
Yeah.
And just knowing that, like, you can't do anything, you know, like, you can't play a spell. All you can do is an ability if you have something on board.
Yeah.
And hopefully I've noticed everything you have on board. Usually I don't. But hopefully there's nothing on board that can stop me, you know. And it's just like, it takes all of that pressure off of, okay, I know that I can play my spell. It's not going to get countered. I know they don't have any way to just tap something and counter a spell for some reason.
Right.
I play my spell, I do my thing, and then I just win.
Yeah. I mean, that's really what it feels like. It's great. Okay. So now let's get into the heart and soul of this deck. Right.
Yeah.
And that is the Lifegain. You basically have 4 types of life gain, you know, in addition to a lot of the incidental life gain here. But what I really like is how all of these things are individual triggers, right?
Yes.
You don't have a lot of gain 5 life, gain 10 life. It's all whenever this thing happens, you gain 1 life, and then but they can all happen so many times that it just goes up and up and up so fast. So I'm going to talk about the 4 main categories of life gain, and then I want you to like pick out one card from each of those categories that you're gonna talk about. Okay.
All right.
So the 4 main categories are Soul Sisters. Those are cards that when a creature enters the battlefield, or a creature enters the battlefield under your control, then you gain a life, right? And then you have Death Triggers. Anytime either one of your creatures dies or an opponent's creatures dies, you gain a life. And then you have Attack Triggers. These are ones that whenever you attack or deal combat damage, you gain a life. Or when someone attacks you or deals combat damage to you, you gain life. And then you have your life gain doublers. You have a couple cards that whenever you gain life, you gain that much life again, or you gain twice that much life instead. So give us an example of a Soul Sister.
So Soul Warden is a 1 white mana human cleric. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life, and just a 1/1. So it's part of a group of the Soul Sisters. It's just several cards that have pretty much that exact same ability. And it's just like, hey, I play creature, I make a token or a creature token. I'm gonna get a life. Hey, I'm not stopping you from playing creatures, but you're gonna pay the tax and give me a life. You know, I'm gonna gain a life from it. So, like, I'm fine if someone else wants to go wide. I'm gonna go wider at the end of the day. You know, but I remember I was going up, I think, against Travis's Krenko Mob Boss,
Right.
which is an insane deck on it, you know, in its own right. If it doesn't have its a deck tech yet, it needs one. But I'm pretty sure we got to a point where it was just us 2 left, and it's like, or maybe we were doing 1v1. I don't remember. But it's like, man, like, he can go wide, but the wider he goes, the more life I gain. The wider I go, the more life I gain. You know, like, he goes to attack me, I gain life. My stuff dies, I gain life. It was almost impossible for him to, like, chew through it.
Yeah.
So I creatures come on board, all for it. As many as you can, because I'll just survive it.
Yeah. And I love the synergy, especially these have with Darien, right? Darien says whenever you take a damage, you create a creature token. Well, whenever you
create a creature token, I heal that
yeah.
damage.
So if I hit you for 10, you get 10 tokens and then gain your 10 life back.
Yeah. As long as I have 1 Soul Sister and Darien out, the engine's humming.
Yeah.
You know, it's a little 2-stroke little engine, but you get a couple more of them out. You get a couple other little things in there going, and man, that thing becomes like a Hemi.
Yeah.
just just 8 cylinders, just going crazy.
It's just it's so simple, but it's basically if they can't kill you in one hit, you can't die. You're right? Like it's
yeah, pretty much.
if you're at 40 life and they hit you for 39, you'll go down to 1, but then you'll create 39 tokens and go back up to 40. And
At least,
if you have if you have Darien and Soul Warden and they swing at you for 39, you will not lose any life at the end of that, but you'll have 39 tokens. Like it's insane how just any one of these Soul Sisters will shut off attacks. You cannot die by normal damage. Now, of course, you can still die with commander damage or infect or mill, but there's no, you just can't, if as long as you have one, you're basically indestructible. It's amazing, just that simple synergy. And I think these are the most important cards in your deck, honestly. Yeah.
And I feel like, and then like they said, as soon as you get any other piece, it basically makes it where it's like exponential, basically, because I mean, okay, like let's say I had Soul Warden and either another Soul Sister. Well, now you hit me for 39. I'm gonna gain 78 life. So I'm gonna nearly double my life now that you've hit me. Thank you. Also, I have an army now. Thank you.
Right?
Or it's like, okay, or if not that, maybe it's one of the ones that doubles my life gain.
Yeah.
Boom. I just doubled my life gain from that. Or I doubled my tokens on board because of it. So now I got double the tokens and double the life now coming in. It's just, yeah.
Yeah,
1 is evil. 2 is just, I don't know what the word for it.
Yeah.
Diabolical.
Yeah. No, it's really good. I love it. All right, the next category. Let's talk about your death triggers. Highlight a card for us out of your death triggers.
I'm gonna go with Moonlit Wake. It's an older card. It's a enchantment for a white and 2 generic. Whenever a creature is put into a graveyard from play, you gain a life. So again, doesn't have to be my creature. Your stuff dies, I'm gaining life. My stuff dies, gain a life. It's just so good.
Yeah.
I can just be on the sidelines and just, things are triggering. Oh man, that sucks. You lost all your stuff. Thanks though.
Right.
I don't have to do anything. So again, when I start to skull clamp stuff, oh man.
Yeah.
Like I skull clamp, I take a damage, make a creature, gain a life, skull clamp it, draw 2 cards, gain a life from it dying from skull clamp. That just kind of shows you how nasty things can get.
Yeah, and
in this deck with just a few cards.
And now if someone's swinging at you for your full life total, you're fine throwing a few creatures in front of it so that those die and gain you life.
And some of their stuff dies, gains me life.
Yep.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. You also have attack triggers?
Yes. So for that one, I'm going to go with Righteous Cause. Again, whenever a creature attacks, I gain a life. I wasn't joking, guys. I don't have to do anything. I can have no creatures on board, and it's just creatures coming in, creatures dying, creatures attacking. Doesn't matter if none of the creatures are mine. I'm getting paid.
Right.
I'm building up that Fort Knox of life to keep me going. So, it is a enchantment, white, and 3. Whenever a creature attacks, I gain a life.
So that includes not just other people's creatures, but your own creatures, right? So
yes.
Now if you...
And that does not interfere with lifelink.
No.
Which is another reasons I love it, is it doesn't mess with lifelink. It's like, I don't have to deal damage, I just have to swing.
Yeah, and so giving you tokens... Now you have a thing where, okay, let's say someone hit you for 5, you created 5 tokens, now you attack with those tokens and get that damage back, because you gain 5 life, and if they die, you gain life, and if they connect, well, you have several cards that give them lifelink, you gain life,
and I have several cards that go around lifelink. Like I said, very specifically, it's like when they deal damage, they
gain that much life.
They gain life equal to that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's several cards that at the same time can be basically giving me 3 different versions of lifelink.
That's so yeah. Okay, the last category here, you're gaining all this life, and now you want to double it. So tell us about one of your life gain doublers.
Last one for this category we're going to go through is Boon Reflection. It is a white and 4 generic for an enchantment from, I think, Duskmoor?
Not Duskmoor.
No. SHM.
Shadowmoor.
Shadowmoor. Okay. I know I was close.
Yeah.
If you would gain life, you gain twice that much life instead. Plain and simple, just double it up.
Yep.
So I actually have a artist, I guess like an artist print or artist copy.
Yeah.
That I got signed at a convention, so that that's a nice little addition to the deck.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it's a solid thing. It's just, I mean, that 2 Soul Sisters, 1 damage gets me 4 life.
It's just, that's crazy.
It's yeah. Like I said, the deck can get gross real fast. I think I've gotten up to 1,000.
Yeah.
Life before. I think we had to get a couple of those spin down life counter from the Commander anthologies, and
yeah, we were
put them
side
by
side, which is insane because you think oh yeah, that you need that when you go infinite. There's no infinite life combo here, as far as I can tell. It's just everything can when literally everything is causing you to gain life, it can get out of hand real fast, and then you're doubling it with Boon Reflection or Rock's Faithmender. It's just going crazy. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun one. It's like it is a very it's kind of a one note deck.
Yeah.
But I played it for years and years, and it was always fun. I think the only reason I took it apart was
because you made Oketra.
Oketra is a different kind of theme.
Okay.
I did that other one from the new Ixalan, the white god from the secondary Ixalan set.
Oh yeah, Odra Talk.
I made that one, but I took all the life gain out. I think I had just felt like I had won with the deck enough times where it's like I've seen most of its combinations, and most of the time y'all weren't attacking me anymore.
Right, we figured out this is.
Yeah.
So if you're listening, one of the biggest drawbacks of this deck is sometimes people will go, well, I guess I'm not attacking you. But the truth is, if you like winning, that's a great way to get in to win, because that means they're leaving you alone while you build up and build up and build up. And you could be in...
For an alt-win con.
Yeah. Which we're going to get to some of the alt-win cons in a little bit. But either you're going to win anyway because they don't want to attack you because they're afraid, or you're going to win because you've set up, and eventually, if they want to win, they have to attack you. So they can't just build up and then swing out at you at the end while you're building up too. You have to, they're going to be, if they build up, now they have to tear down your defenses before they can swing at you. And so, yeah, it's a good deck for winning, which is awesome, because most people, I feel like, don't feel like life gain is a winning strategy. And also, a lot of people, I think, feel like white is very weak. So if you like that feeling of power and invulnerability as you sit on your 1,000 life, this is a good deck for you, I think. So
yeah, it was a lot of fun for a long time. And now that we're going over it, I'm like, I kind of want to rebuild it. And then and do some improvements on it.
Yeah.
So maybe if I go through and rebuild it, we'll do a secondary link with the new and improved version.
Okay. Yeah, because there are some improvements we could make. Okay, so sometimes Darien is gonna you're not gonna get to 6 mana, or he's gonna get removed too many times or whatever. So how do you create tokens and stay in the game when so many of your triggers rely on having creatures? How do you get tokens without Darien?
Step 1, anointed procession. White and 3 generic for an enchantment. If an effect would create one or more tokens under your control, it creates twice that many tokens instead.
Okay.
That's step 1. That's getting your foundation. And then you just want to throw in like a storm herd. It is expensive, but it's worth it. White, and 8 generic. Put X/1/1 white Pegasus creature tokens with flying onto the battlefield, where X is your life total. So what do? For this one, you don't even need Anointed Procession, but man, does it make it even worse. So, white 8, yeah, is a really expensive card, but it's probably going to be one of the ones where it's like I'm going to have 150 flying 1/1s coming at y'all next turn.
Yeah. It'll just finish the game.
You better figure something out that can kill. I mean, you got to deal 150 life or damage to me in one turn, because if you hit me, I'm just going to gain the life back anyway, probably.
Right.
Or unless Darien's not out. But still, then at that point, I have a really big pool of health, even for 3 people to chew through in just one turn.
Yeah.
So, but then again, you get Anointed Procession out, you're doubling that up to like 300.
Yeah. You got a Soul Sister out, you double your life total.
Yep, it's a nasty one.
They board wipe, you double your life total.
Yeah. Another good one is Nomad's Assembly. Put a 1/1 white core soldier creature token onto the battlefield for each creature you control. But then it also has Rebound.
Mm-hmm.
If you cast this spell from your hand, exile it as it resolves. At the beginning of your next upkeep, you may cast this card without paying its mana cost. So
you're going to double the number of creatures you have twice. One time when you play it.
Yeah.
And then again on your next upkeep. Man.
Yeah.
So that, yeah.
So it's just another, again, Darien doesn't need to be on board. There's plenty of ways in here to get creatures onto the board without Darien. But Darien's just a really good, I guess, commander for helping you get them on board and kind of hopefully like absorb some of that damage, or counter some of the damage, because you take the damage, you make the creature, you gain the life probably from something else. So I think for a white weenie deck, he's a really strong, fun choice, but not needed.
And that I think is what makes this deck so strong, is at any point, okay, y'all aren't hitting me, you can get tokens from somewhere else and start the process that way. So.
Yeah, exactly. You're not hitting me, fine. I will Fumigate, clear the board, or I will Martial Coup, clear the board, give myself some stuff. Anointed Procession, doubled it. I gain a bunch of life from it. Next turn, I'm going to swing in, and y'all have empty boards now, pretty much. Yep. So, too bad, so sad.
Yeah. Okay, and then, so we talked about how all your tokens are pretty small, but you do have several ways to make them bigger. I just wanted to highlight 2 of what I think are the best ones here. One is Archangel of Thune, which is 3 and 2 white for a 3/4 angel with flying and lifelink, so it's gaining you life. And it says, whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Now, this has always been one of my favorite cards. I have it in any number of decks because it just makes your army bigger every turn when it connects, even if you don't have any other life gain synergies. But in this one, when every single game action gains you a life, like everything you do, everything your opponent does, makes your entire army bigger every single trigger. And it's crazy. Even if you only have just this on the board. Right? You don't even need an army. If you've built an engine of a Soul Sister, you have your Authority of the Consuls and a proper burial, right? Then plus this, now every time something comes in or dies, this gets bigger, and it's pretty soon you've got a giant flying lifelink angel. But as soon as you've got Darien or Stormherd out, then it's just game over, right?
Yeah, I mean it's super easy to just, if you have Darien, a Soul Sister, Thune, or Archangel of Thune, and then just and then you just throw, like I said, a Stormherd or Finale of Glory, anything that's going to make you a couple, 5 or more tokens. It's like, cool, they came in, and now everything's going to get +5/+5, or you get 20 under the board. Cool, you just got 20, 21, 21 soldiers.
Yeah.
That's nuts. And then, God forbid, anything else die. Oh, you had a sapperling die? Cool. I just got 40 power on board. Thanks.
That's that's insane.
It's nasty. It's real nasty.
The other one that's right along the same lines is Kathar's Crusade, which is a 5-mana enchantment, costs 3 white and white, and it says whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So, same deal. Someone hits you for 2 damage while you have Darien out. All your creatures get 2 bigger. Play a Nomad's Assembly while you have 3 creatures out. Everything's going to get 3 bigger. And then everything's going to get 6 bigger on your upkeep. So, you just added 9 power for your, to the board for each creature you had. It's The combination of life gain making your creatures bigger with Archangel and tokens making your creatures bigger with Kjeldor's Crusade, I think makes it where those are very strong finishers for this deck.
Yeah. The only thing I don't like about Kjeldor's Crusade is because, like, if you have multiple, like, if things aren't coming in big groups, it makes it where it's like, okay, I have 7 knights with +6 counters, and then I have these 6 knights with +5 counters, and then, you know, like you get a lot.
Yeah.
You can't bunch up your tokens onto one card anymore. You gotta have a ton of cards on board, and like 18 D20s with different. Okay, this one goes to 9. This one goes to 15. This one goes to 7. Oh my god, the mathematical nightmare it becomes.
Yeah. Both of those cards, Archangel of Thune and Kjeldor's Crusade, they care about when did the creature come in. That's how many counters it gets. So yeah, bring lots of dice.
Yeah.
When you play those.
Oh god, yes. A lot of D20s, because you're gonna need D20s. D6s aren't gonna be enough. Or you can go on to My Mythical.
Well, Eldorado Gaming.
EldoradoGaming.com.
Yeah.
And get the.
We got some new spin down D20s that would be perfect for this.
Yep, those would be good. I was gonna say the red bag of all them.
Oh yeah. We have some +10 +10s.
Yeah. Those little magic counter red bags.
That's right. Yeah, we have some wooden magic counters that have all the Ikoria keywords and a lot of +1 +1 +3 +3 +10 +10. You can use those for your Archangel of Thune and Kjeldor's Crusade triggers. That's very, very helpful. Yeah, but the hope in this deck at least is, hey, you play a Storm Herd while you have a Kjeldor's Crusade out. You don't really need to worry about keeping track, because you're just gonna kill them.
It's only whenever you get multiple things start to, like, when you get to your third or fourth set of things coming in.
Yeah,
you know, that's when it's like, okay, all right, let me start doing some.
But if you have 40 life,
some calculations,
and you play a Storm Herd, now you're getting 40, 41 41s. Okay, the game's gonna end there, thankfully, and you're not gonna have to do too much more record keeping. So those are great ways to finish the game. You also have a couple of alternate win conditions, or not necessarily alternate, but things that can win without combat damage. And I think this is actually usually how you do win the game, is one of these. So let's talk about Felidar Sovereign.
Okay, yeah, Felidar Sovereign. I think this is the one that I got in the Cat deck pre-con.
Mm-hmm.
I think it came in that. It is a 6-drop card, white, and 4 generic for a cat beast with vigilance and a lifelink. He has 4/6, 4 attack, 6 defense. So beefy boy or girl. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 40 or more life, you win the game. Hey, Commander, you start with how much life,
40.
Benjamin? Oh my god!
And this deck does not lose it.
Yeah, it doesn't lose it for long.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just like, how can you not include this? I mean, like, I don't think I've ever gotten it to just, hey, I play it, and I've just survived, with 40 to the next upkeep. You know, it's usually like, I get beat down a bit, but then, hopefully I can work my way back up. Or it just gets removed.
Yeah.
But I mean, I get it. It's a win con on a creature that's just, you have to deal with this soon kind of a thing.
But that's just it. You have to deal with it. And if the table doesn't have removal, you win. If the table has removal, that's removal that wasn't going at Darien.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, your removal is to swing at it? Dang, man, because he can attack and block.
Yeah.
He's got the vigilance, so he'll hit you, gain 4, and then you'll swing back, and I'll block, and I'll gain 4 more, unless you hit him with something big.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just an easy include in the deck.
Yeah.
I think the next one that I want to talk about is the Throne of the God Pharaoh. It's a legendary artifact for 2. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses life equal to the number of tapped creatures you control. I know I've won several times with this because, you have a bunch of creatures on board, you go to attack, don't even care if they deal the damage or if they all somehow get fogged or whatever. It's like, oh no, you fogged me? Oh. And then you just play Main Phase 2, Throne of the God Pharaoh, pass turn. Any answers? No? Okay,
right.
I win.
And it hits everybody.
Yeah, it's a hit all your opponents for however much you got on board. You probably got a bunch on board. All your opponents take 55 damage to the face, and then it's like, oh, y'all didn't have life gain decks? Oh, darn. should play Lifegain deck. They're really fun. They're really good. So yeah, I've definitely won several times with Throne of the God Pharaoh. And again, it's one of those, you have to deal with me very quickly, or you'll lose. And it's just, it's either going to be dealt with, and again, saves Darien from getting hit, or you win.
Right. The last one I want to talk about is one that I think you have a great story from a time we were playing Emperor about.
Yeah, that's why I was saving it for last. It's my favorite.
I mean, I've seen it. It's in a lot of combo decks. It's in a lot of Spellslinger decks. But what I love about it is it's so straightforward in this deck, right? It's not a fancy combo or whatever. You're just using it for what seems to me like its intended purpose, which is you have a lot of life, you kill people. So tell us about Aetherflux Reservoir.
Again, an artifact for 4 generic. Whenever you cast a spell, you gain 1 life for each spell you've cast this turn. Oh, that's so nice.
Yep.
Pay 50 life. Aetherflux Reservoir deals 50 damage to target creature or player. Oh, that's so convenient. Most people aren't going to be up to 50 life. So, the game when we were playing Emperor is a version of Commander basically, but you have 6 people, 2 teams of 3. The middle person on like each side of the table is the Emperor, and then on their left and right are like their generals or whatever. Yeah. And it's like a zone of influence. So the Emperor can only affect the person to his left and right, and same thing for everyone else. So if you're one of the generals, you can affect the person that's basically like in front of you and your general. But like the other side of the board, you cannot affect. And you can't attack the other general directly the other emperor, the enemy emperor, until you've handled the general in front of you. So I played this in a game of Emperor. I was one of the generals on the side. And, this is a great deck to kind of like, hey, I'm going to build up my life. It's a great defense thing to protect my Emperor. And I think I got it to 100. I got it to 151 life. I remember specifically I wanted 151. So I got it. I think I played the Reservoir, and I was like, any response? Or I don't remember if I played it and then said it or if I already had it on board. But I got up to 151 life. I said, I will pay 50 life and deal 50 damage directly to my opponent. The other general in front of me. Mm-hmm. And at that point, he's like, well, in response. And it's like, no. It's happening. Like, you can't, even if he destroyed the Reservoir, that's still 50 damage heading at him. He will die. Yeah. He didn't have a way to destroy it though. He took 50 to the face. I then looked at the Emperor and I said, I pay 50 life and I deal 50 damage directly to you. And he's like, what? And I said, I deal you 50 damage directly, killed him instantly. That was game.
Yeah.
Like I ended the game. Like, the other side of the board didn't know what happened. I think it was Derek was on the other side. Travis, I think, was in the middle.
Yeah.
And then were you across from Derek, or were you the other Emperor?
No, I was
or are you the?
I was the other general on your side. I don't remember who the Emperor was. Oh, okay. But
I thought Travis was in the middle.
Okay.
Maybe Derek was the enemy other side general. I don't remember. But anyway, it was just like no. He was like, hey guys, y'all can stop now. Game's over. I won. They're like whoa, what happened? Like you killed him. The general? Like, yeah. And they're like, how? Like, it's Aetherflux Reservoir. What? And like, yeah, and then I did it again. They're like, how much life you have? I had 151 life. What the heck? So, it was just a really fun, I paid 100 life, killed 2 people, and won the game. I'm the big hero. So, it's just funny, though, because, like, neither one of the Emperors got to do anything combat-related. They were just playing solitaire and trying to help us out on our sides. Like, they never got to do a single thing against an opponent. Yeah. So, yeah, that's why it's one of my favorite, win cons. It was just a fun story. It was just a fun day. It's like, all right, I win.
Paying 50 life is like racking the machine gun, or not the shotgun. Yeah. You just...
I kind of view it as just like a spirit bomb, Like, I have enough energy now, and I throw it down at you, and it just deals direct damage, And it's like... And it's just like, hey, once it's done, it's like, listen, the spirit, like, the Kamehameha is headed at you. You cannot, even if you kill me, the bomb, or the beam is still going to hit you. even if you somehow killed me in response, like the missile is launched, you cannot stop it. What are you gonna do? Unless you can gain more than 50 or gain up to 51 life in an instant, you're going to die. So he's like, oh dang.
That was that.
That was it.
Okay.
So
well, that's the deck. I do want to point out that Randy's deck, as it currently exists, only has 32 lands. That is a little low as far as, go look at our deck building videos for the suggested number of lands. I do want to point out 2 lands in particular, just as we, on our way out, that kind of help the game plan. One is Emiria the Sky Ruin. It's a land that comes in tapped. It taps for white, but it says at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 7 or more planes, you can return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So it just helps him get back some of the things he might have lost. It's basically a free roll in this deck. He plays 24 planes, so very likely that as the game goes late, he's going to have 7 and can start returning stuff. The other land is the Hall of Heliod's Generosity. It's a legendary land, taps for colorless, but he can pay 1 and a white and tap it to put an enchantment card from his graveyard on top of his library. So basically, again, the game goes late. Somebody starts picking apart his board. Well, so much of his game plan is enchantments. They can just start drawing back into them by putting them back on top of his library and putting them back into play. So a couple of lands that you may not see in every deck that are very useful in this deck. Yeah, this is one of those decks where the longer the game goes, the harder it is to win. It's a lot of decks, they're slugfests, and a board wipe sets everyone back to 0. This one, a board wipe, gets rid of your tokens, but your life total is so much higher than everyone else's that you can afford the time to rebuild when they can't. And when you both rebuild, they're in the same place where you have a bunch of life and they can't get through it. So I love the game plan. It's always a fun challenge playing against this deck. And one of the things I like is, even though you're tightening the noose with every piece you play, right? Every time your army gets bigger, your life gets higher, you put down another trigger, I don't feel like I can't play my game. If I'm playing John Arenicus, I can still give you creatures and make you attack my opponents. If I'm playing Ragvan, I can still swing at people and steal their cards and what makes this deck fun is it's a puzzle and a way that you got to figure out how to win. And it's almost impossible to win sometimes against this deck. And yet, other decks can still have fun playing against it. So you feel your power while the rest of us still get to do our thing. And I like that about this type of deck. So you did a great job.
Yeah, I don't normally like to make decks that stop someone else from playing, their game. At most, it'll be a little bit slower, with Council's Judge. No, that's not it. The one where it makes everything come in tapped.
Authority of the Consuls.
Authority of the Consuls. Yeah, okay, your stuff's going to come in tapped. It's not going to, stop you, though. You're still playing it. It's just going to be a little bit slower. I'm in white. I'm not the fastest deck. I just need a little more time.
Yeah, but that's about as close as it gets. That one makes them their stuff come in tapped, but they can still use them. They can still play the game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You do have Drannith Magistrate, but it's going to get removed at some point. Silence and Orm's Chant are strategic, but they just stop things for a turn.
Or Silence is just a slow, hey, slow down. You don't need to be doing a lot of artifacts and ramping with enchants or anything like that. You don't need to be doing anything like that. It's just a you used to play. Just play it later.
Yeah. No, I think that this deck is great. And if you're out there and you're a fan of triggers, you're a fan of gaining life, you're a fan of going wide, you're a fan of building your pillow fort, this is one of those where the pillow fort doesn't slow the game down for everyone else. Well, because instead of pillow forting by making people not attack you, you pillow fort by gaining life. You can still swing out. Surprisingly, this deck lets people attack freely because you're not scared of dying on the backswing, and so in a way, it speeds up the game. You're going to be the winner because if everyone's attacking everybody, you're gaining life and they're not. But the fact that you have so many creatures on board while you're gaining all this life, it's a one-trick pony, but it still wins.
It's a damn good pony.
All right. Thank you for being part of this deck tech. Again, this deck is Darien, King of Kjeldor,
Come on, stop trying to hit me and hit me.
White Wiener. And so, thanks for joining me, Randy.
Always a pleasure.
And everybody, tune in next time for a good day.
Hey.
Bye.
Later.
This episode was sponsored by Eldorado Gaming. Use the promo code META for 10% off your order. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. This episode was edited by me, Travis Konishek, and our intro and outro music is by Tyler Heath of the Oh Hellos.